We have to admit, DJ Audley, morning, sir.
Morning, Bridget.
That we really have some artists from overseas who are not Jamaicans who are doing a lot of good reggae music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This
And we at home can't afford for the perception to be out there that they're putting out better reggae music than us. After all, we are the originators. So let's get busy. Let's get working. And let's maintain our standards in reggae music. Good morning, Jamaica. Good morning, Bridge Nation. My name is Richie B.
You're surely DJ Audley in the building.
And we're only a part of the team that will take care of you for the next just under 4 hours. We go until 10 o'clock this morning right here on top of the bridge. Up and go. It's now time for WTF, What the Fact. And we have an interesting one coming out of Jamaica this morning. The first woman elected member of parliament in Jamaica. Do you know who she was? Her name, Iris Rudella Collins Williams. Now, she was a Jamaican businesswoman and politician. She was elected to the House of Representatives back in the year 1944, becoming its first female member. In 1939, she was elected to the parochial board of St. James Parish, remaining an elected member until 1944. A member of the Jamaica Labour Party, she contested the St. James Northwestern constituency in the 1944 elections and defeated the incumbent MHA Alan Coombs, becoming the first woman elected to the House of Representatives. Now, we can also tell you that during her term in the... Oh, there she is on the screen. Yeah, nice, pretty smile there. During her term in the House, she was a member of the Education, Social Welfare, Agriculture, Lands and Commerce Committees. She also remained on St. James Parochial Board, sitting as an ex officio member, and she remained a member until the 1949 elections when she was defeated by the same person who she had defeated earlier in an earlier election, Mr. MHA Alan Coombs. Yeah. So she made her mark, and we salute her this morning as the first woman elected member of parliament in Jamaica, Idris Rudella Collins Williams. That was WTF, What the Fact.
Yeah, give them all. Yeah.
Yo, welcome Bridge Nation, welcome to Updates. I like that story, yeah. I want to interested, very, very interesting. So Valiant, yeah man, Valiant attack up in the peeps, you know what going on. We heard, certain comments coming on from one of his recent tracks. I know with Valiant, I have to say one of his recent tracks, because almost every track in drop recent, though. But yeah, I have a tune out there named Rasta. Receiving some controversy, some controversial statements, of course, especially from Kabaka Pyramid. But Valiant answer and just say, him just a chalk up the whole recent criticism of his music and just say, just bad mind. Simple. That's the man I said. And me say it, a Valiant say it, you understand me? So we know that Kabaka Pyramid said, when we say we are inspired the next generation, this is not what we meant. Rasta joke thing in a Jamaica now apparently. Alright. However, Valiant appeared on Instagram Live to vent his frustrations about seasoned artists in the industry who are bad mind towards their younger counterparts, and he vowed to never become one of them. Valiant said, and I quote, "Me just there meds. Like, me just grateful for everything while go on and think, but more while you sit down and like you overthink. You just overthink," Valiant began. He went on to say, "Me hope when me start to achieve some bigger things and the support still there, me no get bad mind for the younger generation or my art start get dirty and say some things for tear down the dancehall where we are try build," he continued. All
right. I expected him to say something.
Yeah.
And yeah, how do you feel about that, Bridge Nation? Interesting, eh?
Interesting.
What is also interesting, though, is I don't know if you all saw the video where he's apparently Valiant.
Yeah.
Is apparently in a vehicle. And Vybz Kartel's song is being played.
Oh, no.
And in that Vybz Kartel song, Vybz Kartel big up Popcorn. Just at the point, I'm not making this up. I saw it with my eyes and I listened with my ears.
Yeah.
Just at the point where Kartel calls Popcorn's name, Valiant turned to apparently somebody in the vehicle and said, yo, cut that. That man the name of the call. Yes, sir. Play a Vibes Cartel. So,
I understand.
what do you deduce from that?
I understand.
He's not kosher, he's not cool with Popcorn.
Clearly.
That he doesn't even want his name being played on the speakers in his vehicle.
That is it.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly. I mean,
So, the video of Valiant as a young artist.
That's a very popular one.
At was like a little DJ competition.
Stage show type vibe,
And Popcorn going up. This is years ago, by the way, at Rich Nation.
But
and
fans,
Popcorn goes up and says, "Well, fans, where's it?
think?
You know, I go on and nothing, though. You know, I'm gonna take him off." And apparently, he get a boo and he had to be removed from the stage. I think that has not sat well with Valiant all these years.
Yeah.
And now that him get a run, it looked like he has not forgiven Popcorn. But haven't we seen where Popcorn kind of reach out to him like say big up to the young youth or something?
I don't.
You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't seen that. But what I have seen, I this is the first time I've never seen that video you just mentioned.
Okay.
But this is the first time I'm seeing Valiant actually, in a sense, address the Popcorn issue. Because when journalists and also as a person have been asking him, and he's just been saying stuff like, I'm just there focused on the music and stuff like that. So this is the first time I'm actually hearing him kind of, so maybe him tie that now. So
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, let's see how it goes. We pray for peace between the
factions. Keep it in the
Trust
music,
me.
please.
All right, peace has definitely happened between Buju Banton, Mr. Mark Myrie, the Gargamel, and his daughter, of course, Abby Hale Myrie. They seem to have buried the hatchet. Buju Banton yesterday shared a heartwarming daddy-daughter moment on Instagram. In fact, there was a smiling selfie photo that Banton shared in an Instagram post. And this, I think, is the clearest indication that himself and his daughter have reunited after their public spat about 2 or so years ago. Here's what Buju... Oh, there it is. Yeah. There it is. Here's what he wrote. When you're sweet, we're good. And that's followed by a nice heart emoji and stuff. And then, of course, Abby Hale responded not long after. Love you forever. Yeah, so that is really, really nice. We don't need to rehash what happened back in the day, but we know that there were some issues in the family, and she had made some claims, and there was a report at the police station at one point. There was the thinking that she might have been missing. Her attorney came out and said she's A-OK. Her brother also came out, and that's Jahazil, came out and said that she's all right. And so the hatchet has been buried, and it's a good look between Buju and his daughter, Abby Hale. Big up to the Myries. Yeah. All right, that's it for
Update. We're going to go on to a nice vibe right now. It's called the Proverb of the Day. I'm looking forward to this one. Let's hear it.
Jankro never make house till rain come. Jankro never make house till rain come.
Yeah.
Sound like something Jackass said I do. We never get.
True.
So Janko simple.
Yeah. It's a Jankro never make house till rain come. It sound like make preparation.
Yeah,
till trouble did it.
Not making yes. Some people never make provisions or preparations for a rainy day.
Yep.
That is what that means.
Yeah, this is definitely.
So don't be an ass or a Jankro for that matter. Please make preparations long before the rain come. That is our proverb of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Bridge Nation, it's 6:46, and it's now time for a pet peeve from one of our the members of our listenership. Of course, pet peeves are things that others do that you may find irritating, annoying, or even upsetting. And we have a pet peeve this morning coming from one of the members of our Bridge Nation. Here it is.
Good morning, Bridge Nation. My pet peeve. Backhanded compliments. Why she nice to a fat girl? She pretty for a fat girl? Or she nice to a dark skinned girl? Can the person just be nice? Can the person just look nice? Can the person just be beautiful without the negativity behind it, or what you would think is not flattering but they look nice? So you have to mention what you think is not nice or not flattering. Hate backhanded compliment. As a matter of fact, keep it I don't want that.
Yeah, man. Straight.
Oh,
Straight.
true, man.
I worst thing that, man.
It's like I give it and I take it back. Same
Yeah. Same breath.
Them two motion and
Yeah.
supposed to go together, Richard. Those are not great go together.
Yeah, that don't make sense. That don't make sense. At all.
Chano.
At all. I get one more day or two, you know.
Eh.
Yeah, man. It burned me, man. What them say?
You
Tough to
come
do
up-
it. Yeah, I mean.
Let me-
Yeah, you want to go on. So it's like, somebody else say, come out like me have somebody asked me some what do you call it? Suggestions on like some shoes and brand shoes and where them can buy the shoes and things. So I tell them some spots, in the oddly areas, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Liggy.
Yeah.
In the hardly.
Yeah,
Baligi.
yeah, Baligi them side, you know what I mean? They hop town, you see me? And the person really look at me and say, what? That like them check the sources and say, oh, this makes sense. Oh, some never expect that from a Portmore youth. I mean, I said, what you mean?
Voila!
That's a,
No,
that's a, what?
Shelz,
Yeah.
You should take back your opinion.
Nah, man, I say,
Just take it back.
no, but it hurt. You see me?
No. Me have one to you know.
You see it there? Oi.
No, man, that's
No, I go overseas and I would do an interview on a radio station. I was actually along with a promoter for an event. So we're doing some pre-promotion before the big event, right? Went to a radio station and did the interview. I was along there because I was one of the MCs on the show.
Yeah.
And this American brethren came out and was like, well, yo, the eye sound good for a Jamaican.
Yeah, man.
I said, hold on, I what the brother?
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
I what the...
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, man. Them do it enough. Them do it enough.
Really? Yeah, man. Like I said, them don't expect Jamaicans to be able to talk. Like,
Yeah,
like
I've heard that before. I've heard it before enough times.
listen to me now, man.
Yo.
Temperature gauge start going.
Like saying English.
Right away.
Like saying English.
Yeah, we're going to chat English, don't we? Roll you out.
Yeah, keep
More.
them backhanded. Yeah, keep them backhanded. What
Yo.
them backhanded compliments?
Yeah, well, I've never heard it put like that before, but
let's call that
yeah.
this.
Well,
Yeah,
nah,
keep them
that's
thing.
no backhanded compliments.
That's all.
This and that, these people
That
quiet.
is
Yeah.
out of order. Rude.
All right. Now, we're going to be talking with Kevin Obrien Chang in his capacity as a political analyst. It's budget time, lots of debates going on, and everybody is actively engaged. So are we. The opposition recently filed a claim, we understand, challenging the government's repeated use of states of public emergency SOEs to fight crime. This was revealed by opposition leader Mark Golding while contributing to the budget debate in Parliament on Tuesday of this week. Golding shared that the opposition is seeking a declaration from the Constitutional Court that the action of the government violates the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms and is unconstitutional. So, let's go back in time. Since 2017, there have been repeated impositions of SOEs by the government. The opposition has been against the SOEs. Last December, Golding argued that the imposition of back-to-back SOEs was an attempt to circumvent the limits that the Constitution intended to place on the Prime Minister's powers. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has rejected those claims while asserting that the security measure is effective in bringing down crime. I really am happy that I have Kevin Obrien Chang to look at this and other matters with us this morning. Morning, Kevin.
Hi, Rich. Everything is good?
All is well, my brother. Good to hear you once again.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. This claim that has been filed by the opposition leader through his party, I suspect, in the courts. What do you make of it?
Well, Richie, my thinking is very simple. There is nothing more important than saving lives. Jamaica, for the past 30 years or so, has had consistently the highest murder rate in the world. If you average a murder rate of all countries over the last 30 years, Jamaica is probably number one by far. Andrew Holness is definitely right on one thing. SOEs work. 2010, we had SOEs. After the Dudus invasion, murders plummeted 20%. 2018, we had SOEs. Murders plummeted 20%. Since last November, we've had SOEs in November, December, January, February. Murders are down 20%. The numbers are unequivocal. SOEs reduce murder, they save lives, and remember, most of these lives being saved are poor inner city young black men. though that's the bulk of the murders in Jamaica. And this argument that SOEs are oppressing poor young black inner city men is wrong-headed totally. It's saving their lives. And, it's interesting that since SOEs last November, have you heard a single complaint by anyone?
No, I really
Nobody.
haven't.
Exactly. Nobody's complaining. I heard the police commissioner said once that, look, he's on the ground, obviously. He said the only people who are against SOEs are those who haven't lived it. Those who are living the crime are in favor. And I don't know what the point of this challenge is when the public, polls have shown the public are in favor of the SOEs. The people who are where the SOEs are in their areas, they welcome it. If you see the news reports and all that, they feel safer. Mm-hmm. And this Charter of Rights, what is the greatest human right? It's the right to stay alive.
Yeah, life. Right to life.
So the right to life oversees everything else. Mm-hmm. And we've had this murder rate, something is working, and then you want to take it to court to stop it when nobody is complaining, and the public is in favor of it. I am just astonished. I don't know what the point of this is. There are a lot of things in Jamaica that the laws that people are questioning that they could take to court. Why take one which is effective and the public is in favor of it? And I'll say something. It's interesting, the Privy Council ruling that they had recently about money laundering. Mm-hmm. The Privy Council's statements were very interesting, some of the statements. One of them was this: as these rights are not protected by the Constitution of Jamaica, they can only be interfered with if the interference is demonstrably justified in a free and a democratic society. And they also said this: crime is a serious problem in Jamaica. As explained in the National Security Policy, it has one of the highest murder rates in the world. States of emergency have often had to be declared. This is the Privy Council. They are recognizing that Jamaica's situation is not normal. Mm-hmm. And remember, when our Constitution was written in 1962, Jamaica had 4 murders per 100,000. Last year it was 50. It's a 10 times a higher rate. Mm-hmm. Do you think Alexander Bustamante and Norman Manley could have envisioned that the country that was safe at the time by any standards, a similar murder rate to Singapore in 62, lower than the USA, that murders would rise 10 times the rate? Do you think Alexander Bustamante and Norman Manley would sit by and say, oh, this is fine, this is normal, or would they take action to protect their people?
So you believe this will be thrown out, basically?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, right? But I would say to Andrew Holness, let Mark Golding challenge all he wants. You keep saving lives. If needs be, you take it all the way to the Privy Council, just like the money laundering law was taken to the Privy Council, because that law is essentially saying, people have to show where the money comes from. And that's obviously one of the the criminals can't show where your money comes from. It's a protection for the people, or even to show when you have a hire lawyer, where is your money coming from, pay the lawyer. Mm. And that bill was upheld by the Privy Council after being shut down by the local courts. Mm. And the Privy Council, at least in its ruling, recognized that the Jamaican murder rate is not normal.
Mr. Chang, greetings. Shelz here. I'm here. I'm curious, sir. Is it a case where the opposition, at this point, they're just trying to find something on the government, even if it doesn't make sense, given like the whole political context?
Well, politics is politics, Opposition will always seek power, but you have to hope that they will do it in a responsible way. As I say, I ask the question again: what is more important than saving lives? I can't think of anything. I can't think of a higher right than the right to be alive. And as I say, the opposition will oppose, but are they opposing responsibly? Are they opposing in the national good? And I want to clarify one thing here. The name is a bit unfortunate, state of emergency, because what essentially it does, when I've heard the commissioner speak, the violence producers, when they are out on the streets, it's impossible to build a case against them because people are scared to testify because sadly many witnesses have been killed in Jamaica. You take the violence producers off the streets, people will talk, you can build a case. We saw the recent gang trial. Part of the reason the police were able to build a case was the SOEs before, from my understanding. And so that is the crux of the problem. The one thing I'll give Mr. Gordon credit for, in his budget speech, he said he supports pre-charge detention, 42 days, essentially the same thing that SOEs do. So, if they give it a different name and do the same thing, all to the good, because sometimes the state of emergency can be misleading. Look at El Salvador. Their state of emergency, they've rounded up 50,000 people. They're building a massive prison. 100 people have died in custody. There have been like 1,000 cases of abuse complaints, right? Because Jamaica's state of emergency, nothing like that. There's no mass detention, no complaints by the public, no human rights abuses nobody's accusing anybody of that. So to call El Salvador situation a state of emergency, and Jamaica's a state of emergency, is misleading. And some intellectually dishonest persons are saying, oh, it's the same thing they're doing in El Salvador like Jamaica. It's night and day.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, one reason these SOEs are working, in my view, one of the biggest transformations we have seen in Jamaica the past 5-10 years is the police are now much more trusted than they were in the past. You don't hear "we want justice" demonstrations against the police anymore. Have you heard any recently?
Not recently, in all honesty.
Exactly. The relationship between the police and the public. And we know the history of the police, They were an occupying force to protect the colonials, oppressing the people.
Yeah.
That's the history, and that's why the public has historically been against them.
Yeah.
That has been transformed. I talked to Henley Morgan, who works in the inner cities, and he and I were talking. He said, this is the best relation they've seen between the police and the public in the history of Jamaica. Wow. It's been a huge transformation, not talked about enough, but in my view, that's why you're not hearing complaints about the SOE. It's been properly carried out, and the people where it is called understand it is to protect them and their family, not to oppress and abuse.
Yeah,
that is my impression, and as I say, I haven't heard of any complaints.
Yeah. Kevin, I want to pick your brain on another matter as quickly as we can. Based on the recent polls that were published by Don Anderson, which shows the PNP in one instance actually going ahead of the JLP in terms of the results. Were you surprised at those findings? And part two, do you think those poll results might influence in any way the Prime Minister's presentation in Parliament as he gets ready for his presentation in the debate?
Well, I'm surprised and not surprised. The JLP has been handling the economy well. We saw the praises from the IMF the other day, and the Financial Times in Britain called it almost an economic miracle. But inflation is hitting the entire world, all across the world. Inflation is we didn't create inflation. It's created by America and the bigger countries, the spending for COVID. But when America sneezes, everybody catches a cold, including Jamaica. But so poor people are suffering, there's no doubt. Things are getting higher, some of the necessities are getting higher. And incumbents all over the world are under pressure. We had 2 elections recently in CARICOM, Grenada and Antigua. Grenada, Keith Mitchell had 15 out of 15 seats. He lost the election. Gaston Brown and Antigua had 12-3. He scraped home by 1 seat. Erdogan in Turkey, President Erdogan, he won the last election he ran by 20 points. He's now 10 points behind. We see it in Britain, we see it in America, in Canada, incumbents are trailing. So it's not surprising that when people are feeling pressure, who are they going to blame? The government. It may not be of your own creation, but who else can I blame? I elected you and I'm suffering. Simple logic. It may not be right logic, but it's simple.
You think the Prime Minister might be tempted to dole out some benefits in order to win back and gain some popularity?
No doubt. But the thing about ramping up the debt, we would just be like a dog chasing its tail, Richie.
Yeah.
We all know in Jamaica we want to spend more on health, education, all that stuff. Why can't we? Because of debt payments. Mm-hmm. The money we should be spending on these things, we have to take a big chunk out and spend on debt repayment.
Yeah.
So you have to stick for the long term. But of course, the Prime Minister, all politicians want to win back. So the Prime Minister needs to do three things, in my view. First of all, his government had a lot of accomplishments. Talk about them. Murder is down 20% in the last 4 months. I've heard them talk about that. They build a lot of police stations. The roads, the economic handling is good. Tell the people about it. They've built highways, even though the local roads are bad. And Nigel Clark has promised to fix up the roads. Second thing is he has to feel the people's pain, obviously. There's an old saying, the people don't know, they don't care what you know if they don't know you care. Andrew Holness grew up poor. He, as I say, who knows it feels it. So he was feeling it once, and he has to, communicate that to the public. I understand your pain. And of course, the third one, as you said, he has to give some goodies, but in a responsible way. Not in a way that interferes with lowering the debt where we want to go so we can do the things we want to do. Every single Jamaican understands we need a better education system. But you need cash to care, and as long as we're paying these massive amounts for debt, we can never have the education and health systems we want.
Thank you. Kevin, thank you so much as usual, man. Have a great day today.
You too, boss.
All right, take care. That's Kevin Obrien Chang, ladies and gentlemen, political analyst, speaking with us right here on Top of the Bridge.
Up and go.
It's now time for
Man Chat.
Man Chat happens at this time every Thursday morning, and today, as we've been telling you all morning, our topic for discussion is how can we identify when a man is being abused?
And today, it's a very serious topic in Obrien Nation because it affects men a lot, and it's not discussed as often as it should be. And that's male domestic abuse. Now, Obrien Nation, did you know that 1 in 7 men in the U.S. has experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime? U.S. of A. That's right. It's important to recognize these signs of abuse so we can offer support to those who may be suffering in silence. It's also important to note, Bridge Nation, that abuse can happen to anyone, regardless of gender, and it can take many different forms. And to help us understand the issue, we have Dr. Paul Smith, who's a clinical psychologist, who will help us identify the different signs that a man may be experiencing when it comes to abuse. Blessings, Dr. Smith. Well, go on.
Morning, Charles. Morning, Richie B.
Good morning, Dr. Smith. How are you?
I'm going to say tune.
You were right. We were right.
I like that, Doc. I like that. Yeah, man. Give thanks for the energy and for the support, as always, because you're a repeat guest, and we always are happy to have you. Before we get into the meat of the matter, as they say, Dr. Smith, please define, if you will, for us, abuse and the types of abuse that really exist.
Awesome. And as Shelz said, it's a very, very important topic that we need to unravel, we need to discuss, and we need to take the stigma off it as well. So abuse is defined as any intention, whether physically, emotionally, or verbally, that cause harm to the individual. So the intent is harm, right? So it's not necessarily the outcome or the impact, but it's actually the intent. To cause hurt, to cause damage, right, to the individual being abused, right? So abuse comes in many forms, but you have the physical abuse, which is severely underreported in Jamaica, right? And we also have the emotional abuse. Right? So you have the physical and we have the emotional.
Both are equally destructive?
Oh yes, equally destructive, I say. Gone are the days when you say sticks and stones. Yeah. But the emotional abuse, it runs deep into the psyche, into the mind, into the mental health, it runs deep. So those are the two broad categories, and under the emotional, of course, you'll have neglect. Right, but it's a part of the emotional. Okay. So we have the physical and we have the emotional.
Okay, understood. Now, Dr. Smith, what are some of the, as we can say, the misconceptions when it comes to men and domestic abuse?
Well, for one, people are of the opinion that men cannot be physically abuse. They'll give and take with the emotional, but for some, the physical one is just not possible at all. Man a wall and man strong and man can stand up.
Yeah.
No, woman not supposed to beat man, so that is out there, right? But it does happen, and it goes underreported, right? And you'll find out probably when they come to you as a therapist and they confide in you, then you might be able to unravel the layers until you get down to the real cause as to why they come to see you.
Any stats on that? Is that like 1 in 1,000 men, or it's higher than that?
probably not. Probably 1 in 1,000, because, as I said, because of the taboo that is placed on it.
Yes.
Men who are physically abused, they are ashamed even to say to their friends what is happening, because in their mind it is not a manly thing to report, and so the stats could be much, much higher. But in terms of those who will come forth and actually say it, right, it is quite low.
Wow.
Quite underreported.
No, so Dr. Smith, with that type of societal norm, well, man and man and no woman no can beat man and stuff like that, does that make it difficult for men to find help? Is there anywhere, any place that exists that can help men, who are going through, in particular, physical abuse?
Well, there are some groups for men that have been formed, and I can probably think of Magab or one of those things out there that is a support group for men, and men have the free access to go and speak without judgment, without condemnation, without ridicule, right? So there are support groups for men, and they are supposed to be some safe spaces where men can actually, say these are the things happening to me. But more so, men will probably feel better to speak when it's a support group that might have just abused men. So they can identify with each other as to what they're going through. But much more needs to be done, much more attention needs to be placed on men. And so even organizations that are there, they are probably just few, right? But much more needs to be done so men can have a safe place, even a helpline or a hotline where they can call anonymously and state what is happening to them. I think that might even get a better result right there.
There are some men who even if they're suffering abuse, they make a concerted effort not to retaliate.
Yeah.
How does that factor into our discussion?
All right. So if they retaliate, probably the cat will be let out of the bag for one, right? And chances are the woman now might be able to say that, hey, these are the things that are happening. And so there are men who prefer to keep it on the low, right? Because one way or another, if they retaliate, then the truth might come to fore. So there are persons who will suffer in silence, and silence will not retaliate, right? Some will, but there are others who choose not to retaliate because they just don't want to get whatever is happening out on the outside.
And some of them, of course, are afraid that it might end up with them behind bars, maybe.
Yeah.
Behind bars, too, you understand? Yes, and there are persons who have the opinion that there's a kind of gender bias, culturally, societally, when it comes to women. So you talk to them, they feel that women are more protected by the law, right? And so they will not retaliate for fear that they might just even lose their job, right, their livelihood, and might just end the latter part of their life behind prison bars. So some of them tend to think about it before they actually go ahead and act it out, if they do.
Understood. No, we can afford it, Dr. Smith. You know it go. You have enough bridging, I go link up on the ends, and you know it go. The ends normally is a safe space for bridging, right? Give some advice to a group of friends. Just let's say this weekend, one member out of the group say, Jano, bro, my girl for the last couple of weeks, put her hand on me. What should be the initial reaction from the rest of the brother them? What should they do? Should they laugh? Should they, how do they deal with that situation?
Yes, I guess the automatic thing for some of them to be is to laugh, but to be sensitive to the fact that men go through different issues, and the fact that I will come to you as a friend It means that I'm crying out for help. You know, I want to ventilate. I want to let it out. I am in help. So I advise men to kind of be sensitive and listen. You know, listen to the pain and the hurt and the discomfort, and be there as a brethren to say, brethren, let me talk, man, but well, we can't really help you, but boy, I can refer you or I can accompany you somewhere. But we need to get rid of the stigma and discrimination, and just like mental health. The discrimination, the stigma attached to it, persons suffer in silence because of what others might think and what others might say. Right? So that safe space is important for men.
All right. So you mentioned suffer in silence, and that is actually forming a part of what the question is about to answer. Because even persons who have that situation, it is difficult for them to continue for the rest of their lives suffering that level of abuse that you are describing. Is help readily available?
Well, as I said, there's always help. There's always therapy, right? So we are always there to help men. But when men come to us, of course, there's no judgment, right? There is empathy, and there is a safe space for men to come and speak with a counselor or a psychologist. We have that. We have that. You know, that the Ministry of Health has a helpline, you know, for mental health helpline. Men can call the helpline, 188 New Life, and they can speak to a counselor, and we can take you through the process. So help is actually there for men.
True. Well, that is good news for the brothers who have to suffer like that. You don't have to suffer anymore in silence. You can speak up, speak to someone, and help is available. What is your parting shot for us this morning on this subject, Doc?
If I just quickly, Richie B, we look at the physical, but there are men who are emotionally abused, and if a man is in a relationship and is deprived of sexual needs, or is deprived of attention, or of food, or he has to sleep outside because there's a quarrel, or there's gaslighting, or there's demeaning words being said to him that will kind of damage his ego. These are also signs of emotional abuse, and a number of men are undergoing this kind of thing. I am saying to men that you just have to speak up, stand up, and speak up and look about your mental health, because if you're not, it don't happen, it leads to mental health issues, right? Men, you are important, and health is there. Speak up, right, and put the spotlight on you. It takes a strong person to say that I need help and reach out for that kind of help.
All right. Doc, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Always a pleasure.
Don't tell me our time is up already, Richie B.
Yeah, believe it or not.
My absolute pleasure, gentlemen.
Big up, Doctor.
We'll have you back soon, though, for sure.
All right. Always my pleasure.
All right, take care.
Big up.
Do not bring no guns, come to town. Big tune, a big tune. Good morning, Natty King. Welcome. How you doing, my bro?
Natty.
Welcome, man. All is well?
Yeah, man. Give thanks to the rising, man. Give thanks for giving up thanks, and it's a new day.
Yeah.
Like we start chipping over it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We go way back. I was right there when you were getting started officially.
Yeah, one of the first man play that song in a better.
Yeah, man.
It make me cry in a Richie B. I remember the first time this song I played. New music. Yo.
and then we send it on, and then we pull it up and we run it again.
Yo. Yeah, tell your brother, big up Trinity, you know him there, you know.
Yes, sir.
Rest in peace, you know. Big up Jimmy, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dexter, Ricky, the man, they come do the thing, you know what I mean? And then man, they come make the thing
Yeah.
And big up the eye, them, you know, the media, them, way put the thing to the world. I mean, the people them know about Natty King. I do give thanks, and I'm grateful for that something they're saying.
But when you did this song, No Guns Come to Town, you were still just trying to find your way in the music business. Take us back to the studio when it was recorded, when it was mixed. What was the vibe like? Was like the engineer, the producer, you, the singer, feeling that it would have become the hit that it became?
Let me tell you the history of that again.
Yeah.
You see this song record at Mixing Lab Studio, you know what I mean? Yeah, Mixing Lab Studio, and it was a Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock. Trinity loved to record 11 o'clock. I don't know what the problem with that time.
Yeah.
But every session is 11 o'clock at mixing lab. You know? So I went to the studio with only one song. This song. You know what I mean? So if Trinity look at me and say, let me hear our next song on the rhythm, me flap. Because it's one song me build.
Yes.
So I respect Trinity to the ground when I happen because Trinity know it. It come like Trinity know the it. I didn't know it was a it. Trinity know. So when this song recorded, mixing time, if Bolby was the mixer,
Yeah.
you know, so when Bolby mixed 3 songs, No Guns to Town, When the Money Done, and the next one named Please Stay and a dancehall type of thing. And Trinity said to him, to the whole studio, what you guys think about these 3 songs? Which one I should put out? Which one I think can come and rock the world? Everyone doubt No Guns to Town and find out Please Stay because it's on a dancehall thing, and they must say, you know, your sister say, wait, and keep on say, wait, but then get bad, you have to change your thing, and you can't depend on the one level, and Trinity say, I want to do. Right now, the people them need God in them soul. That's why I say respect Trinity, you know.
Yeah.
And Trinity know the it, you know.
Same.
Trinity say the people them need God in them soul, and the man swear. The man say, if this not it, me no name with me name. So Trinity knew it was a it.
Yes.
Nobody else never know.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Thank you for that history on this song, man.
Yes, sir, yes,
and
sir.
eventually it went
So
on.
I listen, so it.
Yeah.
I say I mash up the place. Not even it yet. Just on the chart, I go and do a little thing on the way.
Yes.
You know? And Bobby saw me in the studio one day. Bobby said to me, what about the boss? The boss? And I said, no, man, yeah, the boss, but you and me speak song, you know. But I reality kick in, you know.
Yes, yeah, man. And this song would have taken you all over the world, Natty King.
All over. Can't stop singing, man. 20 years and still going, bro.
Yeah, respect, man.
Can't stop singing this song, bro.
Respect. No, Natty, greetings. Shelz here.
What one, Shelz?
Well, I'm there, man. Now, speaking of the longevity and the music, what's the secret sauce? What the formula? What you have, Natty? Because it look like you're not change no gear, you're not go left, you're not go right, you stay up on the path same way. What's the formula? As you see the music space a change frequently. So how Natty stay firm and strong on theme part?
Alright, first of all, you have to get independent. See? And not start out in the business when you have to depend on producers and certain people, promoters to come for shows and all these things anyway. That way I find out say we can't continue on that rate. You know, because I reach a level in music now, let me start doing some things for myself and help some other people too. You know what I mean? So I built a studio and I start produce myself, Virgin. And I built an event called JA Style and I start help myself there and help some other young artists there too. You know? So that keep Natty King relevant. And me's a social media king too, you know, bro. Me's not one of the analog people and we go on like say, yo, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we don't want to know what go on in the world. We know what go on in the world. And I listen to other artists too.
Yeah.
I listen to the dancehall artists and the one them where I say trap and back or something.
Yeah.
I listen to them. You know what I mean? Because you have to listen to the youth them to stay current. You have to know what go on in the thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I watch the stage shows them. Even though I'm not on Sting, I'm not on Rebel Salute, I'm not on Reggae Sunset, I watch these shows. That's when the time comes. When them call me, I know what to do.
And they have called you before. I mean, East Fest, Rebel Salute, Western Consciousness, Reggae Sumfest. You've been there, done that, bro.
2014, a long time that Richie B.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah,
but
man, we are there, work, see, we're going to put a whole heap of songs and the rest of the people over the world are call we. The people in Jamaica are call.
Them need to call Natty King.
So we need it. We say the people, them asking them, I say, where is Natty King? Go them now, you may find some brand new rhythm.
Oh.
Them need be away.
Oh, you mean, Bertrand? Skadang. All right, talking about new works, though, I mean, what are some of the things you're working on right now, Natty?
My only thing in Richie B. I put out the album last year called Revolution. You know, I produced it with a virgin called Sam Gilly, also I've read him from Austria. 19 tracks are going good. You know what I mean? So we are lining up a Europe tour to go promote the thing now. So we booked for Summer Jam. and a couple of more festivals there in Europe. So we're working on more dates and things. And we have a lot of singles. There's a new single out now produced by Love Star Music, a song I talk about Empress. Empress, You Are Mine. We are promoting that song now. Look out for the video. You know, Breadback Production put out a song called High Grade. Natty King put out a rhythm called Talent with a lot of artists on it. Great artists on it. So a lot of work we're doing, bro.
Yeah.
Give thanks, man, Natty. So, as you rightfully said earlier, Natty, you say you're no stranger to the social media and them things there. So, where can the people them find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Natty King officially on Instagram. I'm right there. And you can find me on Wallaway Production on Instagram. That's my company too, my label. And you can find me on YouTube. One of the people who support to my YouTube channel, Natty King YouTube channel, I have a lot of singles there. And so I'm try to put my songs them together because I'm thinking them this scatter all over the place. You know? So I'm try to put my thing them together. So I build this, I create this thing here, this channel, so the people them can go there and see their favorite Natty King song. They can see my work. A lot of people think me stop singing. Me not stop singing.
Still around, still going strong. Natty, you named yourself Natty King, or if not, who did so?
The great Steely and Clevie, man.
Oh yeah?
Great Steely and Clevie. They gave me the name Natty King, and they put out my first single to My first record is Steely and Clevie, a song called Badness Hype and the Bad Weather in it.
Ah, all right.
Yeah, man. That no people don't know. They think no people think No Gun to Town was my first song. No, it's not my first song.
Natty King. I'm gonna play your latest song on the the brighter shade rhythm. It's
Breadback Production.
Breadback Production. Our brethren. Listen, brethren. Good catching up with you, man. And
Respect,
keep the fire blazing, Natty.
All right, big up yourself. Yeah, Richie.
Every time, aya.
No,
Yeah.
Respect.
Real singer.
All right, Bridge Nation. So, as mentioned earlier, Deputy Public Defender Mr. Herbert McKenzie is unavoidably absent, and so today we're graciously joined by the Director of Investigations in the Office of the Public Defender, Mrs. Kayla Beckford Harrison, and she'll be here to share some of the projects of the Office of the Public Defender. Good morning, Mrs. Kayla Beckford Harrison.
Good morning, and how are you?
We're fine, thank you. It's a pleasure hearing from you.
Okay.
All right, so a lot of persons are quite unaware of the roles and responsibilities and all the stuff you guys do over there at the Office of the Public Defender. So can you just share some of the projects, the current projects that the Office of the Public Defender, you guys are currently working on?
Okay, so I'll just give you a synopsis of what we did for 2022 and like what we're planning to continue. So for 2022, we initially, what we have done so far is we have a project that we call the Unfit to Plead project, where we identify persons in state custody who have mental challenges and are unable to plead, but nonetheless they remain in custody. So what we have done, we started in July of 2020. We started initially with a list of 42 persons who are in the correctional institutions. What we did was after we have identified them, we get a current listing from the Department of Correctional Services, and we conduct like community visits to locate the families. So in cases where families are willing to accept them, we get the matters brought back before the court with the assistance of the Legal Aid Council. We have had some amount of success because when we started in 2020 with the 42, we were able to get back 11 of those matters, which is just like 25% of that number. We got them relisted before the courts, and we reunited some of them with their families for the ones who were willing to accept them. After we finished that first phase of the project, we got a second listing from the department, and we did the second phase in 2021. We were able to get some more listed before the courts, and for those persons who were not accepted by their families, we were able to get them in institutions that are willing to provide constant care for them. So we are now in the third phase, where we are trying to get some of these matters relisted again before the courts and have the families accept them. So that's an ongoing one. We have been partnering with the Legal Aid Council. We are participating in the Legal Aid Fairs island-wide. Legal Aid Council has justice fairs, like, I'm not sure how often, but we are always participating. The next one will be as soon as tomorrow in downtown Kingston here in Justice Square, where what we do is we set up booths and we offer advice and whatever guidance for those persons who, on normal circumstances, they'll be unable to like call us, or there are some persons not technologically savvy, so they're not able to email us, or so we're available at these different fairs island-wide for advice. And if we are not able to take on the matter under our remit, we're able to lead them in the right direction. We've also had a project with the Accountant General's Department regarding the verification of pensioners. We started that last year, and so far we've assisted them in verifying over 400 pensioners. So we are continuing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Mrs. Beckford Harrison, I've sat here and I've listened, and I'm saying to myself, I really didn't realize that there was so much going on as far as the Office of the Public Defender is concerned. And that leads me to ask you the question: what would you say to those who may actually think that the OPD is not doing enough to defend the interests of Jamaicans?
Well, that would send a message to us that we need to get out there more. And that's what we are trying to do. So because for last year, like in December, when it's for Human Rights Day, we actually took to the streets. So we were in like Manchester and St. Elizabeth, in the car parks, bringing out, trying to bring up awareness. So that's basically what we are trying to do. Because we know that the public is saying that we are not doing enough. And we know the different names that the office has gotten. So we are trying to make persons more aware of what we are doing. So we are trying and we're getting there.
All right, wonderful. How can persons reach you should they have, need for the services that you provide?
Yes, so we are currently in 3 locations. Our head office is here in Kingston, 22 to 24 Duke Street. We're in Mandeville, Manchester, on shop number 10, the Annex Plaza. And we are also in Montego Bay on St. Clever's Avenue, suite number 18, St. Clever's Plaza. Our numbers are 922-708-9090 and 922-7109. Our toll-free number is 1-428-429-5673. And our general email address is enquiries@opd.gov.jm.
Are all of the projects that you mentioned, basically being delivered on time, like within both budget and the time frame that you try to get them done?
Yes, they are, and I'm glad you mentioned budget. So it's mainly based on that. That's for the Accountant General one. That's what we have to go by, how the budget allows us. But we still fit it in our regular work schedule, so we get it done. Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on this morning in the absence of our usual guest, Mr. Herbert McKenzie. Please give him our regards.
Yes, you'll be back soon.
Yes, and filling in so beautifully, Mrs. Kayla Beckford Harrison, giving us a lot of details in terms of the projects of the Office of the Public Defender. Anything else you wanted to add before you go?
No, not really. Just that persons can always reach us. And even if we are not able to assist, like if it's not within our remit, we still will guide you in the right direction.
Absolutely. And for that, we give thanks. Yeah, keep on keeping on. Thank you so much. And have a great day today.
Big up.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. All right. That was, of course, Mrs. Kayla Beckford Harrison. She's the Director of Investigations in the Office of the Public Defender. And that was Constitutionally Speaking.